Oh, this is our response. Yeah, it's a little bit of appreciation, but something else like it's asking some guys. I don't know what's going on. But good for him. I really do. Yeah, I mean, it's one sale thing on the sales. Sales skill. I have no questions. Welcome to the October Township Board. I'll ask everyone to rise. Education followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. In light of the recent celebration of the Veterans Memorial, I'd like to just emphasize that tonight. Gracious God, we just thank you for this evening where we can honor and celebrate our veterans. We have the pleasure, Lord, of hosting a site that will remember and celebrate the gift of their service for our country and often giving the ultimate sacrifice in serving us all. We celebrate, Lord, all the armed force divisions, and we thank you for the distinct privilege to have that Veterans Memorial on our park. May that be a memory and a reminder of the freedoms that we hold so dear. Thank you, Lord, for this team, the board. May you bless this time and give us wisdom to proceed and to serve our residents. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as a follow-up, if you have not visited the Veterans Memorial, Veterans Park, I would just encourage you to wander over there. It's one of the most encouraging things you can do. Also very memorable. So thank you for our local veterans group that put that together. So I will ask for the approval of the agenda before I entertain from my colleagues. I do have a motion to amend the agenda to add a closed session item. And the motion I would like to entertain is I entertain a motion to enter into a closed session under section 8(1)(e) of the Open Meetings Act to consult with the township attorney regarding the pending short-term rental litigation court hearing scheduled for October 14, 2025. And I would suggest that we enter it in as number 10, just push the action items back, and we enter it as number 10 on our agenda. Do I have a support for that motion? Thank you, Brian. Any other additions? But let's vote on that first. Any approval? That was second was Trustee. Any questions or comments on this agenda item? Ed? Okay, so you're not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Entertain any other adjustments to the agenda. All right, seeing none, I'll they can make a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Support. Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Great. On to number 5, approval of the consent agenda, which would be the approval of the minutes from our 2 meetings, September 11th, September 18 work session. In the work session, just a reminder to the public, our board took a field trip and we visited 2 bathrooms in a park, and a very valuable session for our board to understand what we are spending our money on. A bathroom and some park improvements at Winstrom Park. So thank you, board, for taking time to do that field trip, and Matthew for hosting us on that excellent tour. At that point, we did not have the minutes to approve, so that's why we're approving 2 sets of minutes at this meeting. So I'm making, yes,
Change my work session.
please. Oh, that's right, yes, sure. Duly noted. With those changes, any motion to approve the minutes? Thank you. All right. Motion to approve the minutes. So I'll say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Payment of the bills. We could have done it all in one, I'm sorry. Let's take a motion to approve the bills. Great support. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, this is the opportunity for the public to address the board and make any and all appropriate comments. We strongly suggest that you keep your comments to a couple minutes, and we certainly enjoy hearing the public's point of view. So, if you would like to share your name and address, that's very helpful for us to understand. But here's your moment. I'll start on the left side, my left, your right. Anyone on the left side that would like to come, please come to the podium and share your public comment. Thank you.
My name is Sherry Vandenberg. I reside at 1210 Bentwood Court. My comments are in regards to action item 9C, the Trillium Grove site condominiums. We did attend the Planning Commission meeting. However, we did not present public comments at that time because we didn't have the site plan. That was in the agenda, but we weren't aware that it was in there. So, and we weren't allowed to make public comments after the presentation. So I want to say a little bit about that. We have been residents of Bentwood since the very beginning. And it is a development of custom-built homes, all different builders. We had to meet very specific design requirements, square footage requirements. I actually have a copy of those requirements with me, and I can leave a copy with you if you want it. Most of the residents in that cul-de-sac have lived there for 20 to 30 years. There's very little turnover. It's a very quiet neighborhood. And when we realize that change is imminent, we would like the board to consider some of our concerns. One of the reasons we moved to Park Township, we moved from Holland Township, and several of our neighbors moved from Holland Township, is because there was lower density, it was better quality of homes. There were higher level of requirements to live in Park Township, and we appreciated that. When I look at the Trillium plan, and I looked at the most recent plan that was posted today, there still are no square footage requirements. There are no even ideas of what the square footage is going to be for any of the dwellings that are going to be in that development. There's no targeted price point. So that gives us as neighbors no information to really base, should we be concerned? Should we be selling our homes? You know, we have no idea because there's no information there about that. We did, you know, during the Planning Commission meeting, there were recommendations by the Planning Commission regarding the buffer. And he did build in a 40-foot buffer on our neighborhood side. During the meeting, there was a lot of, it was stated recommendation versus requirement. I would like, as a board, to make sure that these are requirements. Because there was some discussion about, well, we run into problems, we might not be able to maintain that buffer. And again, who's going to uphold that defined buffer and the preservation of the internal tree stands? That was another thing that was written into the plan, but who's going to monitor that? And also construction traffic on Bentwood Court. He did indicate he could put some signs on Bentwood Court, and we would really appreciate that so that we would not have the big trucks coming down through our neighborhood. Another concern is water pressure impact. We've all have underground sprinkling that's been in there for years, and all of a sudden we have, all these additional draws on that. Large oak and pine trees impacted by the Twin Oaks extension. So if you walk that property, they're going to extend Twin Oaks. Some of the most beautiful trees are right in the pathway. So I don't know if there's any curve to the road, anything we could do to try and preserve those trees. Just one final comment. Our neighborhood is all different homes. So we're looking at what we think. I mean, there's not a lot of information, but a neighborhood of maybe 4 or 5 different planned homes. That to me speaks very cookie cutter. And I guess that's not what I thought when I thought of moving to Park Township. Thank you.
Going to the back row. On the left side, right side. All right, thank you. Going to the right side, front row, back, head back. All right. With that, I think we'll close public comment. Thank you. All right. Just a reminder, item number 7, we have to continue to put this in front of us. Park Township is a family connected community that values our natural features, agricultural character, and recreation opportunities. Our mission: we proactively listen and lead, providing exceptional services and amenities while carefully stewarding our resources. And we're going to do it with integrity, respect, and being genuine. So, we hope we endeavor to do that and demonstrate that to our residents. So, going through our packet, of course, we have the regular items, the department reports. And my colleagues have any questions or comments about those items? Manager President, would you like to introduce a teammate? Yes.
I can't see her because of the days. And what is our new varsity recreation department head, and started thank you a week ago, and is doing well. And here's Ann. Thank you. Have anything you want to say to the board or the public? We're glad you're here.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm really excited to work with Jordan and the rest of the staff here at Park Township. Everybody's been very welcoming, and it's just a beautiful park system. So thank you again. If anybody has any questions.
Ann came after quite a few years in the Oakland County, Michigan Parks and Rec area, and has a lot of experience, and she's hit the ground running, got a whole list of improvements and questions to go with them, and fitting in very well.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions about our department reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our first action item, which is cemetery fees. It would appear to be this would be a very lively issue. Oh, that's okay. So, but I'm sorry, but it's hey. All right, please introduce yourself to our, you know, who these wonderful sextons are.
Okay, I'm Dave Martin, and this is Mike Mitchell. And we're going to be talking, I guess, separately about the 2 items on the cemeteries. I'll talk about the fees, and Mike will talk about the ordinance changes that we have. As most of you know, the only fees we've had historically for the cemeteries are burial right fees. And so I think we gave those to you in the packet. Currently, we charge $1,000 for a cemetery plot, and for a resident, and $2,500 for non-resident. And then for the columbarium niches that we will start selling hopefully before the end of the year, it will be $2,000 for residents, and $2,500 for a non-resident. And given the fact that that's our only income, at some point in the future, we will run out of cemetery land. We still have the obligation to maintain the cemeteries. So we've been looking at other ways to bring in revenue. And so looking at other cemeteries around the area, we've decided that we want to implement these fees that are shown on the sheet, a fee for authorization for interment or disinterment of $150. That's to cover the cost of us marking the location for a grave, for a burial, and also updating our records, computer records of who's buried there. The authorizations for cremains, burial, and a monument, which is a rare occurrence, but it seems to be more often. If a monument is placed and there's cremains in there, we still have to update our records about that person being buried there. And then historically, we've done cremains, burial by the sexton, and that we had a payment that came directly to the sexton for that. We're recommending that that be incorporated into a single fee that will include the authorization for interment in that, and then the township would pay us out of that. Occasionally, we have to transfer ownership if a private sale of a cemetery plot to another person. And then that requires us to get involved and do some updating of records and also document and validate that the person has the authority to sell that plot. So there's a lot of work involved with that, and that's the $200 fee. And then the final one is for when a monument is placed in our cemeteries, we require a foundation to be poured. That's done by a third party, but the sextons have to mark the location and make sure it's put in the right place. So these 5 fees are what we're looking for. And on one of the pages, we show you what we expect the revenue from that to be. It's an estimate based on our historical track record of these different items. So roughly $15,400 is what we expect. That could go up over time. And then we always have the option as time goes on to raise those fees as it's appropriate. So that's what we're recommending. Any questions?
In your packet, so the vote goes in the packet, there are sections within competitive cemeteries. So if you went through the packet to understand the why these fees show up in all our communities, neighboring communities, pricing. So this is not unusual. These are fee for service.
Yes.
You can't, today you call up and basically it's you guys do it for free.
Yeah.
In this case, you have this, in this case, a fee for service model.
And just a point, we have talked to some of the local funeral homes and also to the monument company and advised them that we're looking to do this. And they took it in stride. I think they're used to that. Just anecdotally, about a year ago or a year and a half ago, I marked a grave and we had a check show up here in the township office to pay us for that, even though we didn't have it officially. They just assumed that we charged, so they sent us a check. So that got us to thinking that maybe we should be charging for these things.
This point of clarification, Joan, should be separating the fee discussion from the ordinance discussion. Or if it matters, yes, I mean, okay, so because all right, so the fee discussion, we're actually creating fees, and I'm gonna ask Dan, should that be a voice vote or our roll call vote, since we're actually, it sounds more like an ordinance because it's
You're allowed to modify the fees by resolution. So
Okay.
it's similar to a resolution. Again, always the safest course of action would be to do a roll call vote, but I believe you could do a voice.
but let's do the roll call on the ordinance and this is the voice vote ordinance. Okay.
One other point, Steve, I don't think it's on here, but we plan to implement this January 1st. So it would be January 1st of 2026. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to entertain these new fees as part of our sexton, our cemetery fee structure. Okay. Back to January 1. Right. Anyone else support? Great. All right, any questions or comments about the fees that were suggested?
I have a question. I don't mind the fees. It reminds me of you go do something and then you get all these hidden fees on top of it. Is there a way to put this in when you buy a plot and this is included? So it's not all these extra fees, or maybe that just doesn't work that way. I'm ignorant about this stuff.
Yeah, we, I guess the issue is by doing that, then if we have historically, we have not charged very much for our cemetery plots. So we have many plots that we sold 40, 50 years ago, and there's no burial yet in that plot. And so, we may have gotten $100 for the plot 4 years ago, and there's no money left over to maintain the cemetery. So this is an opportunity for us to get it in real time, in sync with the fees, the expenses.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. Yeah, you'd have to charge these with those that have already purchased, but I'm just wondering if the future, if you just charge more for the plots and then this covers that, or?
Well, the other issue is that the payments would not come directly from the public, although they're eventually going to pay for it. The funeral home would pay us, or the monument company would pay us. The only time that we would have a private citizen paying us is if they were doing a remains burial on their own, or if they were transferring ownership. So,
And I think that's one of the key points, is that a transfer of ownership could happen multiple times for one plot. And so you really don't know at the sale of the plot if it ever will occur or if it will occur multiple times.
yeah.
Well, this is my ignorance. I just assumed it was coming from the private person and it's not.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's helpful for me. Thank you.
Any other questions before we take a vote? Seeing none, I will ask the vote. All in favor of this motion to put these fees in place January 1, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself there.
Mike Mitchell, also a cemetery sexton here from Park Township. Thank you. So this is item B, the cemetery ordinance. Dave and I had the opportunity to attend a seminar earlier in the year put on by the Michigan Association of Townships. And we learned very quickly that a lot of our ordinance had not been updated over many years. And so we decided then that it was important that we go about establishing an update to the ordinance. And then subsequently, we were asked to consider the items that would be required from the cemetery in order for Park Township to be considered for Township of Excellence certification. And again, there were a couple of items in that certification process that required ordinance changes. So we incorporated those also into this at that time. And so Mika did a great job of summarizing it in the packet that you have, as well as providing the red line version of it so you can see the actual changes. I'm just going to identify 6 items that are in there that I think are important, and give you an opportunity then to ask any questions you may have. So defining what an owner is. And so it was possible in the past for people to misconstrue and think that when they were buying a plot, they were actually buying land. And we wanted to define that the owner was buying burial rights, that the property still remains the property of Park Township. And we thought it was important to put that in the ordinance and highlight it. The owner is responsible for notifying us of a change of address. And the reason this is becoming important is one of the items for excellent certification is that over a period of time, if that plot becomes abandoned, we want to be able to recover it and be able to resell it. I'm a great candidate for this in that I have plots that I own in Chicago where I used to live, and they have become abandoned. I'm not going to get buried there. I'm getting buried here. And so nothing will happen with those. And a lot of the plots that have been sold here in Park Township are that same way, where people bought them years ago. They moved to Florida, or they moved to Arizona, or they moved somewhere else, got buried there, and the plot just sits stagnant now. And there's been nothing that we could do. So the ordinance now is going to allow us to, after 30 years, if we've lost contact with that person and we're unable to contact them, we can go through a process which in the end would allow us to regain the burial rights and be able to resell the burial rights for a plot rather than allowing it to be abandoned. Family is responsible for the delivery and placement of a monument. One of the things that we learned at the cemetery is that especially for cremating. People are putting a box that actually is a seed for trees. And so over time, a tree would then grow in that plot. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen, that we're controlling what's going on in these plots after a burial. Forfeiture of a vacated plot, we talked about that and being able to recover that vacated plot. And finally, the addition of a columbarium, which we're now going to have at Lakewood Cemetery, we needed to update the ordinances to cover that. So if I can answer any questions specifically about the ordinance, I'm happy to do so.
I have a question. On page 53, letter D, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correct, but it says at the time of purchase from the township, each burial site shall be assigned the name of a specific person who shall be interred in that burial site upon the person's death. Each such person must either be a resident or a taxpayer of the township or be a member of the immediate family. So we have non-resident fees and resident fees. This doesn't seem to coincide, or am I misunderstanding?
So I've always had the resident and non-resident fees associated with the purchase of a plot. Now we want to make sure that it also is being utilized in that way for the burial, whoever it is being buried, whether it's a family member or somebody who is a resident of the community, so that we don't in some time in the future have somebody who decides I'm going to buy 10 plots and then I'm going to start making them available to people at a price that's beyond what the expectation was. So we're just trying to control. Well, Sexton still has the opportunity to allow a burial based on the circumstances that are there. But we want to try to identify who it is intended to be buried there so that if after a period of time, I buy a plot, I pass away, and my daughter, Michaela, shows up and says, I want to be buried there, and we did not have, or we did have her name there, that would be fine. But if somebody came up and said, oh yes, I'm a descendant of Mike, my name's Tom Smith, and I want to be buried there, we would have no record of that. And so we want to, again, be able to control and make sure that it's being used as it was anticipated.
I guess my only thing is when it says has to be a resident or a taxpayer, that means.
Or a family member.
Or who, the person who's buying it has to be part of that family.
Yes.
So then. So.
You're saying that non-residents allowed.
But they have to be a member of someone who lives, I mean, a member of the family.
A member of that family.
I guess that wording is confusing to me, and I don't know.
And I think it would help if the wording was actually taken from a draft that was provided by the Michigan Township Association, where they said, here's our recommended wording. And so the wording was actually drafted from that.
Maybe an example of, we have occasionally people buy 4 plots. They intend to use them for the husband and the wife and maybe 2 of their children. And if we don't have the names of those people, when it comes time to bury them, we don't know if it's appropriate to bury that person in one of the plots. So it's really just an opportunity at the front end for them to reserve that plot for an individual. So we know when it comes time for burial, they qualify to be buried there.
And it can always be changed.
Right. When it says in the.
front that students unvested fees, and then this says that you have to be a resident. I guess it would only apply to the people who are members of the immediate family that could be non-residents.
That's correct.
So a family member has to reside or pay a taxpayer, be a taxpayer.
No. So a new resident, somebody from Chicago could buy a plot for their children, for example. And their children, regardless of the residency, then would be eligible for that because we have a record that that child is the person that they bought that lot for.
I think the distinction on the statement there is the ors. Either the resident or the taxpayer or be a member of a non-resident person. So I think we're okay with the ors. So no, you don't have to be a resident, you don't have to be a taxpayer. You could be, as you said, a Chicago person who vacations here and buys 4 slots and. Yeah,
I'd just like to ask the attorney if he thinks this is good wording.
Yeah, it's fine. So I'll try to use an example, and I apologize for this, but a number of years ago, there's a high school student in Fenville who passed away. And I purchased a plot for him in the cemetery in Fenville. I was not a resident, but he was. And so I was the non-resident that purchased a plot for him, and then his family bought some other ones next to that. In that situation, he's a resident. He can be buried there, and I'm a non-resident purchaser. What this is basically saying is each person's name of who's going to be there either has to be a resident, like Wes was, or has to be an immediate family member of a qualified purchaser. So if I'm a non-resident and I want to buy a lot in Fenville or here in Park Township, I couldn't do it for somebody who wasn't a resident unless they were my family member. So I don't reside in Park Township, but if I wanted my daughter to be buried in Park Township, I could pay a non-resident fee, name the site for my daughter, and she could be buried there.
Okay. It's just confusing.
yeah.
Thank you.
Good. All right, any other questions on the proposed changes?
And maybe this relates to the whole thing. So on page 46, section E, if you can just maybe give a scenario of what this means. It says, furthermore, the sexton shall have the absolute right and discretion to determine whether a particular burial site or sites will be sold to a specific person and where such burial sites will be located. So if you decide you didn't like someone, you didn't have to sell it to them.
No, but Dan's example, for example, I think is a great example.
Yeah.
If Dan came to us and said, I want to buy a plot, I'm not a resident of Park Township, but it's going to be for Wes, who is a resident of Park Township, and we required to charge him a resident fee as opposed to a non-resident fee, because the intent of that is for it to be a resident.
Okay.
And that's at the discretion of the sexton when they're in the process of actually selling the burial rights at that time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
In the 7 years that I've been on the board as a trustee or supervisor, it's the first time we literally had a discussion of any substance about our cemeteries. And I just want to commend these two men for guiding us through this process. It was it needed updating. So thank you, man, for this. Any other questions or comments about this? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve these ordinance changes as submitted. All right. And since it is ordinance change, we'll call it. Any other questions before we close the discussion on this? Any questions? All right, yes, that's the question.
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
trustee Gerard,
Yes.
trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Surnack,
Yes.
treasurer Stager,
Yes.
clerk Zerich, yes, and supervisor Schoolbaum.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I just commend these guys to their community. If you have questions or comments or about our cemeteries, please connect with them. They are customer first. I mean, they serve our township with great diligence. I commend our township to the neighbors and residents to use them as a resource for a very critical time in someone's life. In a family's life. So thank you guys. All right, on to the next item, Trillium Site Condominiums. And I believe we have who's going to represent? Please.
I'll give just a quick introduction, and then the developers are here, they can speak to it as well. So this is a straight site condominium proposal. And so that means that the primary task is just to look and make sure it aligns with the requirements of the ordinance. The planning commission found that it did do that. They held the planning public hearing at their last meeting. The one item that was up for quite a bit of discussion is that this is a beautiful tree-lined
It's a lot that has a lot of beautiful trees in it. And so there was a lot of discussion about the tree preservation ordinance. So in the course of that discussion, the proposed buffer zone that's required by the tree preservation ordinance was enlarged to 40 feet on the southern side and the western side. The northern side, there's an existing utility easement there. And so there's a combination of growth on that side of it, but there's a 20-foot, I think it is, utility easement there. There's also some trees along the side. So that's a quick overview. I'll turn it over to the developers and I'll be here as well to answer questions.
Hello, my name is Noah Bosgraf Holmes. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your night. It's a pretty straightforward plan. It's a site condominium, meets the zoning, and along with the master plan. I'm here for any questions if you need. Otherwise, I'll hand it off to our engineer, Eric DeYoung at Naderveld. Yeah.
So yes, my name is Eric DeYoung. I'm with Naderveld. We're a civil engineering, land planning, and surveying company. I want to thank Mika for her good work on the process and the thorough report. Because of that thorough report, I'll try to keep my comments brief. As is mentioned, the Planning Commission has reviewed the plan, and the submittal set has found it has meets the standards and has recommended the project for approval. This is a by-right plan, so this is not a planned unit development. And all the lots conform to the existing zoning standards for the zoning. And it does mimic the design and density of the community just immediately to the south of it. The site condominium is a method by which the lots are divided, but these are individual home sites, much like in a platted community. But these are not conventional condominiums that are attached. These are individual home sites. We are proposing public road. Ottawa County Road Commission has approved the entrance location. It's been approved by their board, and it would meet all public road specifications and then be deeded to the Road Commission for their ongoing care and maintenance. We are proposing a drain-dry stormwater management basin. The stormwater management area functions to serve for water quality, flood control, and channel protection for the area. The utility connections are pretty straightforward. There's existing sanitary sewer that was mentioned, and that exists on an easement that actually goes across the northern portion of the property here. And we're proposing loop water to Twin Oaks. So the water will be looped from 152nd through to Twin Oaks, which will actually is likely to improve reliability and pressure for the water service for that area and those connected. As Mika mentioned, we expanded the tree buffer on the western and the southern property lines. Again, I can offer any details and answer any questions that I can, but to summarize, the master plan and the current zoning has long imagined this parcel as appropriate for this type of residential use. And in fact, there was the foresight to stub the road to the north at the time and provide for utility stubs as well. This is a by-right plan that fits all applicable zoning standards and has received the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have. Thank you.
This is the time for the board. Ask any questions, clarifying and or challenging, whatever you'd like. So please do.
I just have a technical question. This is not a PUD, is that correct? In one of the paperworks we got, it says the proposed Trillium Grove PUD is in alignment. That would be a
Typo. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Was asked in the public comment, is the 40 feet a requirement or a suggestion?
It's a requirement. Yeah, and that's something that we watch as staff when it's going in. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that, and making sure that the trees stay where they're supposed to stay. And if there are any issues, then we look at that either as, is this something that we can resolve as staff or the developer and stay within the contours of the agreement and the approval? Or is it something that would have to come back to the planning commission or the board? So the ordinance kind of offers if it's a minor site plan or if it's a major site plan amendment. And so whatever that changes, if it's too great for staff to work it out with the developer, then it would go back for additional review and approval.
Question. We have a planning commission that's very capable. Planning commission has done a great job with master planning. As I would have by the engineer, fits the master plan. That's what we do, master plans. So I commend and honor our planning commission's dynamic and the recommendations to approve this. So that's my comment. I would entertain any motions on this item.
Like make a motion we approve as stated with the work that we have done.
Support.
If I could, there are a couple of conditions at the end of the staff memo that are kind of boilerplate conditions, but I could commend those to you. Let me see if I can find them quickly. If the Ottawa County Water Resources analysis uncovers negative effects on the surrounding neighborhood, the developer needs to work with staff on that. That was something that had happened several years ago into development. Applicant must receive final approval from all of the outside agencies, and any change to the site plan as a result of the requirements of outside agencies must be reviewed either by and approved either by planning commission or staff.
Endeavor, I would ask Trustee Jones if he would agree with those amendments or amend on the motion as suggested. All right, and Jim, would you agree? All right, okay. So the motion with amendments, with amendments. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. All right, any other questions before you ask?
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Is this gonna be like an HOA? Will they have an HOA? Okay.
Yes.
And then, so the HOA will take care of the buffer of trees and maintain all of that, is that right?
The HOA would be directly responsible for any of the general common elements of the site condominium. In this case, most of the land is going to fall within the actual unit boundaries.
Oh, that's what I wondered.
So the HOA will have control over the stormwater detention area and the surrounding areas, but any of the other areas would fall within the unit boundaries.
Okay.
Thank you.
You mentioned the HOA. Did the planning commission get copies of the HOA regulations? Normally, we have those in our packet to look at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's not something that we're able to enforce. So that was something that has to be submitted before the process is complete, kind of on the tail end of the construction end. But since that's not enforceable by us, that's not something that we included this time.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. See none, we'll ask for the question. All in favor of the motion with the amendments, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Five, but I think 5-2. Thanks, Danielle. I just want to confirm that we had that right. 5-2. All right, thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so the next item is let's see, community park LWC grant agreement. Right.
We were notified
You or Matt or both?
I can answer any questions that come up, but.
Okay, no.
I think you guys should have it.
Go after it, go.
We were notified in September that our grant has been approved for the development of the parking lot and restroom facility adjacent to the pickleball courts. With that, we have to sign an agreement with the Grants Management Division of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund, so that we're on track with what our requirements are, and they're ready to start releasing funds after we sign that. So the recommended motion is to direct the manager to sign the grant agreement. If you will, at that recommendation, part of the of my report, scratch both the resolution and because the clerk will take care of the signing for the resolution. So it's to direct the manager to approve and sign the grant agreement. That gets us moving forward so we can finalize our drawings and go out for bid.
Part of the process of finishing the job here, or actually, not finishing, starting the job, getting it attached.
Right.
So, this would be a motion. So I'll make the motion to adopt the attached resolution and direct the manager to sign the grant agreement. Thank you. All right. Any questions on it? All right. All in favor of this motion to move this grant forward, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Bill, I think you're up next as well.
Yeah, next is a Metro Act application for Metro FiberNet LLC based in Indiana to perform work in the township, adding cable lines and improving the communications for residents. They're going to be working on the west side of the township near the state park, and then up on east of 152nd Street with their equipment. We had a similar one to this last month. Again, it's motions to authorize the manager to sign the permit and move this project forward. Again, remember, this is a two-step process. When they get ready to start doing their construction, they'll need to get a permit from the road commission.
This is the first step.
Yes.
All right. I entertain a motion to approve this application. Anyone? Or yeah, I'll make a motion to approve. And you support it? Yeah, I thought you did. I'll make a motion to approve this application and direct the manager to sign the permit. Trustee Jones support. All right. Any questions or comments? All right. All in favor?
Just one comment.
Please.
It'll all be done in the right of ways. Public right of ways.
Yes.
Please. No.
What is the benefit?
Provide better communication for our residents with cable and internet.
The residents.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Yeah. Go back to more options.
No, I see what you mean. This is areas where we don't have good connections. Right.
Good question, Joe. Thank you for asking that. Right. Okay, so motion is on the floor to approve that. Motion to approve the application, direct the township manager to sign the permit. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Bill.
Thank you.
We're moving along here.
Health insurance.
Health insurance, E, obviously F, health insurance resolution. These are always a little bit complicated and appreciate our managers walk through this one. So can you guide us on this one, thanks?
Yeah, this is an annual action by the board for health insurance for the employees. When we went through this last year, the rates were high enough, and we have limitations from the state now regarding health insurance that we can't they're limiting so that you don't provide Cadillac for plans anymore, to limit the amount of money that the township can put in to supplement the employee insurance. However, in that same act of 2011, they allow for an opt-out, which is what you did last year. You kicked in an extra $25,000 to help on the employees' premiums so that they didn't rise so high in one year. This year, the rates are averaging about a 6% increase, but under the law, we're allowed to increase by 2.3%, and the employees pay the rest. So when you look at the Plan C of that's in the packet, if you do not contribute extra money for this project or for this premium, employee rates will more than double for next year in their payroll deduction. If you look at the very bottom in the yellow, the rates that are currently in 25 versus 26 are shown there. So what you've done in the past is kick in $25,000 to help those rates, which are shown on both chart A and B. The one chart contributes a fair amount of funds into the HSA, the health saving plan for the employees. That's on chart A. Chart B puts more of the money into the premiums so that their premiums for the employees go up by between 3% and 4% for next year. So that's with the 25,000. Now, last year you were able to, I think, keep the rates pretty close to the same and put a fair amount of money into each employee's HSA. This year with the 25,000, we can keep the rates pretty close as far as the monthly or biweekly payment by the employee, but we're not able to put as much into the HSAs. So right now the plans A and B are in front of you are the two preferred ones to opt out of the 2011 state law. And if you wish to, increase the HSA applications even higher, you're sure able to do that.
If we were to approve the same $25,000, is there a preference from the staff? Would you put into the premium or would you put it to the HSA?
Well, what we've A puts $1,000 and $2,000 into the HSA, and Plan B puts that money into the deduction for the premium. Yeah, so that the employee is not getting a massive increase, like you say, of double their biweekly premium payment. So that's why we're recommending chart B. That keeps the biweekly payment goes up by between 3% and 4% for the employee. And if they pick the higher deductible plan, they'll still have some money put into their HSA. The HSA is used for anything that's not covered by the insurance for medical expenses, including some of the over-the-counter purchases regarding medical purchases for the employee.
Any questions for Manager Cousins on this? Thank you for the analysis, by the way. This has been very helpful.
How does it compare to what we paid last year?
The township contributed $25,000
total.
Yes.
The total cost of health insurance. Do you happen to know that? If you don't, that's fine. Just curious.
Well, that's the part that's up by 6%. I do not have that number.
Okay, that's fine. And then what plan? Whose plan is this? Is this Blue Cross?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Well,
It's Priority Health.
Priority.
Okay.
Have you compared it to anyone else?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Did you this year? We got to do that every year.
Okay.
Because there's other plans that are cheaper that are just as good, if not better. We need to be looking at other plans besides just one.
with that said, Jim, the question is there enough time in your process to actually do a competitive bid, or just ask the question? And
We can table this and do that comparison and bring it back to you in November, I believe. If I have it right, I think last year you approved this in January. Even though it goes into effect on January 1, so I don't recommend that, but we can do what we can to get. We're running out of time. But everyone's different as to when it switches, so I just know our office switched November 1, so that's how I happen to know about what we did. But if you like, we can do that and bring something back next month. I'm just saying, if there's no time, there's no time, but in the future, we gotta look at some other other options. Okay, that's all.
But seeing it's October and we do have a couple months left of the year, it could be prudent for us to ask the question, come back next month with just assurance that we have the right plan.
I just don't want to mess anything up for the employees, that's all.
No. But where do we have Bill, Danielle, do we have time? Did we be able to do that in the next 30 days to be able to ask the question?
I guess we can to make it work. You know your schedule. If you don't have time, you don't have time. But so I just want to ask the question. That's all. Okay.
Okay. You want to make the discussion table, and it could come back the same way next month. If we couldn't, if we can't the numbers, but I think it's prudent for us to approve it next month. We do have a little time to be able to do it. The manager, Cousins can get a second quote. Let's get a second quote. So we're smarter next month.
We'll do it.
If we can get that quickly.
Sure.
All right. How many people are on this plan? You know, guys.
15.
15. All right. Thank you. All right, we didn't have a motion to table.
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to table. All right, thanks, sure. All in favor of tabling this until next month? Yeah, aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks for your flexibility to do that.
Sure.
I think it's good question. All right, just a quick comment. I really appreciate Charles. This is infinitely bigger than it was a year ago.
Okay.
So thank you for the work.
Connie put it all together, so we'll thank her. Yes. Okay.
All right. This one, I'm glad it's on the agenda. I asked Manager Cousins to look into it, make sure that we can do it. And so I'm going to defer to Manager Cousins on this one. It is that let's just say interesting month. So it'll take us away.
It's been a very interesting month and a little bit of August to go with it. But as of today, we are completely caught up on the tax collection and resolution, and so we're in really good shape. But we did lose an employee at the end of August and put us into a bit of a bind for tax collection. But the staff stepped up. Everybody who could help helped, and everybody else helped those people who were helping. So it's been quite a very interesting and wonderful observation of the employees working together as a team to make sure that everything ran smooth. Something that wasn't quite as smooth was the treasurer picked up just a few hours, and she's still working extra hours. So the reason for this item is that we compensate the treasurer for her work that she did as the deputy, in addition to her normal time that she spends as the treasurer for Park Township.
I think it's clear, having been in the office and briefly as compared to Jan, I just want to say thank you to our treasurer, Sarah, for stepping in into what would be an abrupt ending of an employee that had this all moving and stepping in. With honestly, without the experience of past employee. And I want to personally thank you for doing that. Just being fair, we're paying her for work done. The deputy treasurer was gone, so this is not unusual. We did double check it with our legal staff. We talked, and this is the legal thing for us to do. Dan,
Yeah, the statutes indicate that the salary of elected officials cannot be decreased during their term without their consent. By having it say decreased rather than just changed, it means you do have the authority to raise Jan's salary, whether she consents to it or not.
Yes, but we could raise it for a period of time for work done. Yes.
Yeah, and this has time starting on August 28th and then through December 31st.
And I just want, is it official that we did fill that? Can you
Yeah.
say that publicly?
We have made an
Yes.
offer and it has been accepted. Sarah from our building department will be the new deputy treasurer. We're excited about it, her knowledge, her enthusiasm. Her great personality will be great up front. So it's gonna be a process because we need to find someone for her position too. So we're looking at starting her a couple hours a day training in the treasurer's office. I'm still getting into stuff I haven't done for 13 years. So I'm getting the cobwebs out. I'm learning again too, enjoying it, but it takes time.
Great, so the motion is to adopt a motion to allow to pay treasurer's trader for work done and work to be done at a rate that's reasonable to what the deputy treasurer was getting paid. So I personally will make that motion and encourage someone to quickly support that. More, thank you.
Can you note that that's through December 31st, just so we
Great.
know that it's a temporary thing?
I will amend my motion to include through December 31. Right, great, thank you.
And I want to say, I'm keeping the hours separate from what I normally do as a treasurer as to my work for the deputy treasurer. So I'm not trying to overdo, trying to be fair and serve the residents wisely.
It was open wait until all the stairs still before we over to push position bills and
Sarah officially starts as the deputy treasurer on Monday of next week, but the actual transition from one position to the other will take a month or two to make that happen. And also depending on how fast we can hire somebody in the building department. That ad is out today, so we're starting that process.
All right, so the motion's on the floor to pay the treasurer for the deputy treasurer activities. So
I'm gonna step down for this vote.
I would suggest that. I would suggest that. Thank you. Noted. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Again, thank you for work. It couldn't have been a busier season. So tax season, right in the middle. All right, moving on to the sale of the Butternut Drive properties. Fairly simple. We talked about this a month ago, I believe, maybe like 2 months ago. It was a number of corporate properties. This is only a motion. We did approve it. I believe we entered into an agreement. I am going to be unavailable, and it just authorizes the manager to sign these documents. I just signed the documents for March a couple of weeks ago. I'm just not available, so this is purely procedural. So, yeah.
Make the motion to authorize the township manager to sign the closing statements for this property sale.
support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed,
Thank you.
All right, okay, we're going to go into, I hope, a brief closed session to discuss. I do need to say this one more time, but I answer it.
Yes, there would be a motion and then a roll call vote, and I'm just gonna give you the specific case number.
Please.
Because it's a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 8(1)(e) of the Open Meetings Act to discuss specific pending litigation, in particular the short-term rental appeal, which is case number 2025-00008303-AA. I will send it to you.
Okay, I concur with that motion suggested by our legal staff. Dan, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we do need to do a roll call vote to go into closed session.
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
trustee Gerard.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Survey.
Yes.
Trustee Stager. Treasurer Stager.
Stager, yes.
Clerk Zero, yes, and Supervisor Smith.
Yes. Super. All right, motion passes, we're going to close session. I'll bet. Much better there, all right. I'll take a motion to return from closed session.
So moved.
Support.
All right, in favor of returning from the closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Session. Thank you, that was very good. All right, so we are now into the manager search. Okay, so this is supposed to be just a, Billy, you have a couple pages of items that Bill had, manager. But
It's okay.
Okay.
Bill's.
Okay, thank you. I just, I had said, we had talked about timing in that type of stuff about this manager and Manager Cousins has been through this a number of times and he has put together some questions for us to consider before we actually get serious about going out for requests for applications. And so, Bill, would you like to just give us a little cursory view of these questions? Don't go blow by blow, but this is in some sense our work assignment here for the next couple of weeks.
Right, yeah, and what I'm suggesting is take some time and just thoughtfully determine what you want in your next manager. Whether it's education, experience, how they react with the public, where they've been, if, a small community, a larger community, those kinds of things. If they had public works experience, grant writing experience, think of those things that you may have observed in the last few years of your time on the board, and what do you want going forward, so we can put together a good and succinct advertisement for the next manager. And we can talk more about that at I think our intended meeting is October 30th to delve into this. The other thing is, how do you want to do this? Do you want to hire a firm that can put out the ad statewide, countrywide, take care of interviews and present to you, say 2 or 3 or 4 finalists for you to interview, help them with, once you make a selection with the onboarding, do you want to do all that in-house and do it yourselves? Do you want to do it with a hybrid approach? I think we've used HR Solutions, is that right, in the past for various things. And I know he's available on the 30th if we want to chat with him that night. So those are things that I've put into that memo for you to consider going forward, and see what we can do on the 30th, get this resolved and come up with a firm plan. We can start an application process, advertising in November, and in December, January, have interviews and get somebody on board.
Please, question. Do you think that based on your experience and all the things you've got through your career, based on your experience and all the things you've done through your career, do you think that the job description we have for this position accurately reflects the role and responsibility and the requirements of that job?
It does reflect the roles and responsibilities. As far as the minimum requirements, a lot of that is things that are preferred or should have.
Mhm.
That's why I put in the first section there to, what do we want that is mandatory?
Yeah.
Do we need to have a 4-year degree, 5-year degree, a PhD? Is it more important that the basic degree be a requirement, but the number of years of experience? In a community like Park Township, we've got 3 grants that we're working on right now. And to develop this park alone, we're going to need more. So, somebody who has previous grant experience, to me, would be really important. Those are things that you might want to put as a requirement, that in the current job description are things that are good to have.
Yeah.
So
my concern is just simply that I think there's a lot of times where the job description tells a part of what the expectation would be, but I don't think that it does a good job. And that's so I'm wondering, right, do you think that the job description we have currently is adequate, or should that be even revisited?
definitely should take another look at, always update the job description. Yeah.
Because even the discussion we've had tonight on healthcare, and it feels like that job is not only what it was, but there's more fiscal responsibility associated with it. Diving in, investigating, understanding, proposing, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I think if I can lead another question on, I think if Bill, you can guide us on that particular item on the job description. With your experience, you're looking at job descriptions differently.
Yes.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
You've gone through half a dozen transitions with different job descriptions. If we can be so bold to say, okay, look at what we have as job description and modify.
Build it out, right? Build it out, however you want to call it. But I think I'd love to be able to tap into your experience from the perspective of what have you seen in the past and what do you see today and where do you see it going?
Yeah.
And if we could write those kinds of things into the job description itself, that almost becomes kind of all these questions are great, but how do they reflect into the perspective of what we want that person to be competent and capable of doing?
Right. That's important. Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
I just want to confirm who's available. I put that note out just as a curiosity. Who's available on the 30th? I heard.
I'm supposed to be in Detroit that day. I'll race back as quick as I can.
Yeah. So, okay. Joe? Yes. Yeah.
I gotta check my calendar.
Okay, Lauren, shaking his head.
Good.
Looks like we'll have the forum.
Yeah.
Close plan on it. So the work session, really the primary purpose of the work session is going to be this. And Kurt Watson will be there, so as well. Perfect.
Good. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm available.
great, thanks. All right, so this is our pre-work in some sense to the session. All right, proposed bathroom facility, restroom facility. We're saving the best for last. I mean, all right, we start with sanitary, and now we're going to bathroom. All right,
All right, well, thank you guys. Yeah, I just want to first quick introduce Dirk Walcott. He's architect that we've hired to assist with the design of the restroom building. The firm actually also is going to be doing site electrical design, exterior lighting design for the parking areas, as well as the interior of the restroom building, the finishes, the roof, those types of things to give a complete building design. So he's here today. He's going to present some ideas for you guys to take a look at. Last time I was here, we kind of talked more about the parking lot. We said, hey, we're going to be working on this building. We promised we're going to get going on. And so we started doing that. I said that I would come in here and kind of show you guys what we've been up to. So I'm excited to do that today. Just a quick recap, the original grant application had a 26 by 26 restroom building proposed, and it was kind of a traditional design layout. In fact, picture this on actually, no, that's a little different, but so ignore that for now. But the original layout was traditional men's, women's restrooms, based off of other restrooms that we've done that Century's helped us with. That's what the grant costs were built around, that size. We went on and did that awesome board tour. We got to see a couple other things, see how those look with the
provide. And the group generally, there's consensus that night that maybe we don't want to do traditional men's, women's restrooms. There's new models out there for bathrooms. And so that we've kind of started going down, looking at unisex restrooms, so that each person can have their own, individual room for changing, for, it's the model works great if you have, adults with special needs, children that need attention in restrooms. It's a good model to go to. So I do think that is a wise way to go.
Because, there was no consensus.
Okay.
There was a suggestion to consider this. I don't.
Yes. Okay.
There was no OMA violations. We were
True.
curious about the potential solution of family restrooms.
Yes.
But there was no vote. There was
No vote. That's correct.
No
I apologize.
I just want to make sure words matter.
Yes, you're right.
And, but I just want to make sure that the public, we did not vote on this.
That is correct. I apologize. Video was discussed. Yeah, video was discussed, and so tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of explore those ideas. Like I said, Dirk has got some stuff to show you guys what we worked on. He had started working on some ideas related to the original concept of men's and women's. So you'll see some of those images as he worked on those. But he's also going to start to present a couple of ideas to you guys tonight. We want to get some feedback. We met with staff, with Ann and Jordan, and we've seen some of these ideas, and we've kind of got their feedback. Now we're looking for your feedback. So with that, I'll introduce Dirk.
Yep. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to be here to share some of this with you. The design time is always an exciting time, right? Because it's idea time, right? And when Matt approached us on this, and we've done several projects with Brian and Newhoff on this, so we've got a lot of experience doing these kind of things. But he filled me in on the walk that you guys did, and what you looked at, and some of the discussions that were happening. So one of the images I want to start with that's in front of you is kind of the original idea behind the grant. Let's just start at base one, because that's where we're going. But what I'm hoping for tonight from all of you is, a little bit of an open dialogue, right? If I'm going to share probably 3 or 4 images with you, but that will have a lot more verbiage with it because we're still loose and high in the design funnel. And because we've had the chance to talk with Ann and Jordan and Bill, we had a great dialogue over a Teams meeting, and some of the imagery you see tonight is from that dialogue. But we want your feedback. This is a very interesting spot in the overall property here. It's kind of a hub in between lots of the activities that are going to be happening, or are happening and are going to happen. So I look at this as a crossroads. That's the word that keeps coming up in my mind in terms of, where this is. There's trails coming through here. You have the pickleball courts, you have the township, the soccer fields, the future potential rec area, all those things. This is kind of at the center of it. So not only, I know we're just talking about bathrooms, right? But what are some of the other functions that could happen here, right? A lot of times we use words like soft spaces, like it's a bathroom, but if people are mom and dad are playing pickleball and the kids are playing out in the field or whatever, this could be a meeting spot, right? Let's have lunch and then we'll go back to our activities. Or, hey, we met on a parking spot, but it's a little rainy. Can we hop under a shelter and have a conversation, right? Those are the kind of things that happen around bathrooms a lot of times because it's a need, right? And sometimes if you're riding your bike as another example, you might just want to take a break, and check messages or, pull out your lunch or whatever you have. And, lo and behold, your best friend pulls up in the parking lot and you've got a place to hang out. So we talked about some of those with staff. And then of course, the year-round aspect, right? Is this a year-round thing or is this a seasonal? And of course, we're looking at seasonal. We're not going to heat the building or condition in any way. It's going to be shut down during the off season. So just sharing some of those things that came out in our previous discussions. But so the image in front of you is a 26 by 26 space, and it's got a men and women's bathroom. And then there was an area for utility as well as some storage. Storage, I'm just going to mention, came up because of storage related to pickleball. You've got some soccer activities, right? Is there a need for some storage for cones or anything like that for practices and whatnot? So if we want to flip maybe to the next image. And again, these are real loose because we're not trying to hone in on anything. We're trying to make sure, one, we get program right, and we get and we capture kind of the spirit of what we want, what the township wants. So this is looking at a different option where you now have individual, well, and I'm just going to give you the spaces are kind of sized here, right? So these are 8 by 8 toilets, which is a general design concept for a unisex bathroom. And that's a sizable bathroom, so it allows for other activities like a parent and a child or someone with special needs. So there's room to be able to maneuver in there. In those bathrooms, as well as a separate storage room with its own access, probably would then have a common utility space, not only for the plumbing and support of the toilets and the fixtures, being able to access those and maintenance them, but also some storage space. And then there was this concept of, what about concessions or some kind of use where if people are organizing an event, they could, if there's a soccer game or whatever, they could have some, ready-made stuff to go, not a kitchen or anything like that, but, if there's a fundraiser or whatever, or even if someone's having an event and they want to have a party, they could have a place to put things out. The other concept that shows up in this image is the idea of creating some interstitial space around the building. So some larger overhangs, maybe some area in front of the concessions that faces the parking lot where there's a gathering space. Still relatively on the small side. We're not trying to go huge here, but just providing some extra spaces. Maybe there's some benches or things like that. So this is also looking at a roof concept that with the outside colonnade could span over the volumes and then be expanded upon, which if you go to the next image, we start to look at, okay, are these concepts, could they be broken apart, then creating further interstitial spaces in between where utility and storage and concessions are in one building, and the toilets are in another. But then under a larger roof, you have the ability to have space in between. One of the discussions that came up in our meeting with staff was that, does this building want to orient? And that's where this concept came from, orient specifically to the parking lot and the pathway that leads in front of it? Or is there an idea of having visibility from the concessions or the bathrooms, more access to the field to the north? So this kind of plan would kind of open up where you're actually going through the space to get to other activities. If we move to then the next option, this was an option as our discussion with staff started to wind down. We kind of honed in on still trying to maintain budget, right? In other words, we can think big and expand forever, but we still have the grant and a budget that we probably want to maintain in the initial concept. So while you're thinking about the other ideas, which are all possibilities, larger roofs that can be expanded upon, volumes that are split apart, this seemed to be kind of the front runner with kind of a new twist to it, which is you still have the 5 bathrooms. And in this, I actually have 6, but and I did that because the storage room could become a 6th bathroom if pickleball expanded and you needed to add a 6th bathroom for, to handle the capacity of more people. That could happen. This building could also expand to the north. It could mirror itself so that on the one side, you're seeing a new word there, which is vending. And the idea here is that you have an open space but it's kind of like a vending foyer. And this is a concept that we're seeing more and more in other parks around the state and in other states where they provide water, a vending machine with water and some snacks and things like that. And the public has access to that. And you hire someone to fill that, and that fills the need of kind of the concessions space. And then the columns that are on the side have a bulkhead where in the wintertime you can bring a rolling door down and close that off for the wintertime. So that's a new twist to the idea of going to a full-blown concessions, because again, as we talked, the concessions idea is a nice idea, but at the same time, how often would that be used? And, you know, you're paying cost to have something, a space built that may not be used all the time. So the vending option seems to be a popular option, and Matt you've seen a lot more on the park side, but we've seen it as well. So this is kind of, and again, we can go in lots of different directions. The last slide I'd like to show you, if you go to that last slide, these are some of the kind of the images that we've been using. If you look at the top left of the screen, that's more of a traditional look for a bathroom in this area. You probably even have something very similar to it over at Winstrom Park. Nothing too different there. On the right-hand side, you see, top right, you see an image that's a little bit more of a flat roof with a slope to it. There's some sketches in the middle that actually Matt did. That kind of looks more of a, still a hipped roof, but more of a kind of a farm feel, if you will, more of a rural feel to it. So we're bouncing around the idea of aesthetics as well. And because of where this building is going to be and where you're at in terms of the development of the property, as well as your other parcels, right? If we're thinking now the bigger picture, what is the common thread that makes it a Park Township facility, right? Is there a common theme? And maybe one of the questions out there is, do you want to take this moment to establish a new thread that will develop as your parks move and evolve, or do you want to carry on a traditional theme that you already have in one of your parks already? We didn't answer that question with staff. As a matter of fact, staff wanted us to bring that to the board because we want your input. Is this a moment to change the direction in the aesthetic? Because there's new things going on. There's all this new development. You have some very modern buildings to the north here with the Outdoor Discovery Center buildings. So just a couple of notes in the sketches on the top right, as well as the kind of the colored sketch in the middle left there. We also talked about, like with a flat roof, there's opportunity for a green roof, which would then capture rainwater, and you have a rain chain that leads to, a swale that goes into the wetland that's planned for the park, right? And so how do you tie construction into the landscape, right? Are we being stewards with our facilities and of course, doing things environmentally right now? There are things that can be done. So the bottom image on the left there has a roof that's kind of like, it's like a wing shape, and it collects water in the middle and runs off to probably a cistern, which isn't in the image, but, and then bringing in daylight into the space so that you're not using as much electricity, right? So and if I sound like I'm all over the place, it's because we're high in the funnel, right? We're not trying to come here to say, here, this is the Century A&E or the Prine and Newhoff design, do this. We know that after we leave and this building is built, you're the ones that have to respond to the public for what we've done, as well as utilize those spaces. So that's, I guess, where I'm at. That's my little spiel for tonight. But I'm brought my notepad, and Matt's going to take some notes. We'd love to hear from you guys on what you think is the next step for this small little restroom that could be the impetus for many things.
Or it could just be a restroom.
I think the interesting thing that you mentioned was aesthetics and having like a concept, a unity through the whole park. We have the airport hangar. Is there a way we can design, have a unified design through whenever we add on? I mean, we could always take the lighthouse from Beechwood Inn and put that here, but I like that concept you mentioned, about thinking of something to just tie the whole area in as we keep developing. Like the farm aesthetic or, a theme kind of a thing.
If I could, you have you have a dichotomy here of, you have this building, which is, I believe it's 80s, 90s. And it's pretty typical of the 80s and 90s for municipal buildings. You have very kind of modern, what I'd call current trends for construction, no eaves, very box-like construction at the Outdoor Discovery Center. And then, of course, you have the hangar over there, which is something completely different. And so that comment is very important, I think, here, because even though this is just a bathroom, there's going to be more to this space, the rec building, more pickleball, all those kind of things. And this does sit at the center of that. So this is kind of a stepping off point, I think, for the township in terms of, do you just want to do something simple and it's a bathroom and you move on? Or do we want to do something different here to address the aesthetic of where we're going as a township?
I mean, the left-hand industrial looking building, no one's gonna blame us for putting one of those up. They see them in all our parks.
Mhm.
I think the unique thing that we have in this 60 acres is a blank slate. And I think it has an opportunity to have some design flair. How far the design flair goes is probably restrained by our budget. I drive by our OEC neighbor on a regular basis. I like the cosmetics, the architecture. I like the feel that they put in on that site. Do we have to make it similar? Absolutely not. But I appreciate that they could have done a more industrial solution, but they didn't. They created a lot of beautiful spaces on that site. I think the historic hangar is an outlier. This is 1940. I don't think you designed something to a 1940 building.
Right.
So I think it's purely an outlier. It's an antique building or a historic building. It is what it is. So I think we have opportunity to do something fresh. I'm not sure that we throw brick on the building like this building. I think we put it's far enough away that it would have its own identity. Now doesn't lend towards does it start the message what we want to do in the future if and when we do put it on the building or two on the site. It could, but I think we have opportunity to do some design flair. Oh, that's the right word. Design creativity. So at the end of the day, someone walks by and they go like, "Yeah, that's neat. That's neat." And again, no one's going to say on that upper left-hand corner, like, "Oh, why did they do that?" Right?
Yeah.
Because they expect that. I mean, we're used to that. And we see it again in all our parks.
Right.
But I think this one, with the prairie wildflowers, the open space next to some pickleball courts, it's going to be a beautiful site. So why don't we create a more beautiful building now? Again, within budget. Yep. Within budget. So that's my thought. I don't think you restrain yourself to industrial and say, well, that's what they get.
Right.
I think you come back with a couple of creative designs. You said some neat words about natural light coming into the building. Water usage. I mean, why can't we build a more green building? Let's try to be a little smarter with it. So that might give you too much design.
That's great.
That's a lot of good points. We've got community input. We went through a number of input sessions when we were talking about the community center. And we've got the data somewhere. I remember being in rooms where you put stickers up and here's pictures. And do you like this building better than this building? And the community gave us 3, 4, 5 ideas on the aesthetics that they found most attractive. So Mr. or Trustee Jones, can you elaborate on that a little further? Or?
Temporary, but meeting more structure was the biggest thing in the field work, identifying as far as the things that they like to see. If I may, I just have a general question. When you look at the individual, quote unquote, bathrooms as compared to more of the standard, is there a cost differential you think between, like, for instance, the way you had it laid out, there was 3 stalls on one side, 1 stall on the side, 2 urinals. How does that compare if you did 5, quote unquote, anything?
Let me just say this. So the old terminology is the gang bathroom, right? So we use that with schools and everything else. But the communal bathroom is more the, the right terminology nowadays is it's the most efficient layout, right? You have to provide enough stalls to handle the occupancy of the courts and we have tables that tell us that, right? But so yes, when you wall them off, you're adding walls and then therefore construction costs to that. However, the functionality of those bathrooms are limiting, and the reason you're seeing less and less of them is because our society has evolved into a different approach to life. And the biggest one is, I go back to when I grew up going to the YMCA in Birmingham, Michigan, is my mom I had to go into the men's room with my friend and we were, 7, and my mom would stand at the men's room and say, "How you guys coming?" The move forward to my daughter that Dr. Gerard delivered 21 years ago. When we went to the Howland Aquatic Center, we were able to, as a family, go into a bathroom together, take her diaper off, shower her off, do all that. And it's a wonderful thing that we've switched to as a society to allow for those kind of things to happen. So I look at things from a standpoint of value, right? Is it more costly to do the individual bathrooms from a pure materialistic? Yes. But I think the old traditional way of doing those, yes, it's economical. And don't take this wrong way, but if we're all men, we just in and out of the bathroom real quick, it'd probably be the way we go forever. But it's not the way the rest of the world works. And I think the reason we're proposing the individual bathrooms, and staff, let me know if you want to add to this or anything, but it's a better response to how our society works and moves today. So
I think too that for an opportunity to use the apartment, especially and the individual bathrooms over there are nice, even from the perspective of if it's only women that are going to the bathroom, both are available.
Right.
So it felt like a better use of the space, and those are individuals, very nice, and I don't think there's anything excessive from a materials perspective. Right there, they were decent, all the above, right? They seemed like they were nice. It does feel more right than there's the next side. As a new grandparent, my wife and I talked about this choice, and we would have a hard time sending our 5-year-old or soon 4.5-year-old grandson into the men's room alone. And this individual bathroom situation solves that. And I think our society is very protective, and so this is a non-negotiable for me. I won't vote for amendments in the limits. That I would say no. Non-negotiable. If you back up a couple pages on the presentation to the one that had a concession block on.
Yeah. That one.
If you build that building absent such, I mean, I like that we have some buildings out there that have the bigger work areas.
Mhm.
I mean, we can, let's travel events, sporting events, whatever, give somebody an outlet and they'll turn it into a concession stand.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to have an enclosed space around that. I think, that kind of layout. And then if you stop the plumbing so that you can take that and completely mirror it the other way. I mean, just from being fiscally responsible, right, you could add another 6 stalls to that thing.
Yep.
Relatively inexpensively, you wouldn't have to break people, right, it's not new structure.
Yeah.
Extend the roof on whatever, that's what I'd like to see. And a proposal would be, hey, show us something that gives us the aesthetics that are important to us, but also show us something that, 10 years from now, there might be more pickleball out there, or eventually, right, we're not wise enough to, right, we can't control the future. We don't know.
Right.
Right. So what kind of thing you show or propose to us that will allow for that expansion, and it doesn't cost them another $500,000 to do.
The only addition I did not see that you're showing this slide on your somewhere is just a drink fountain, drinking water fountain.
Yes, yeah,
It's gotta be somewhere.
those kind of details, I think, would be, I think we talked about water bottle fillers and things like that, and that was definitely something that should have been there. To your comment about the concessions, these are, the concepts, right, are intermixing, it can be intermixed, and it's then our job to kind of synergize that all into some kind of design, right? But I love your concept about the larger roof, open area, and again, people can put out a folding table and that becomes your concessions, and maybe it's just an outlet that's allowed, to plug in.
Talk about the outside area, talk about the buildings in the areas that allow that or and using an extension of the road in this area. You basically do that same thing, right? It's that open, kind of inviting to your point, right? It's also to a standard, the roof shape.
And it's also close to the pickleball, of course, but had those 2 buildings already.
Yeah.
So I think we ought to carry that theme to this building as well.
Sure.
Okay, I don't want to wrap up too quickly, but I haven't heard from a couple of the comments, but let's but what's on your mind? Agree, disagree? What do you want to see or not see?
I'm agreeing with this concept right here. I think we need to have the 6 separate bathrooms. And it's not really a non-negotiable, but I think it's the right direction. And I like the idea of having it open concept and not necessarily built-in concession stands, but who can bring their own tables, they can bring their own pots. And it makes it very configurable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't necessarily make this area the area to have a concession stand. It is a bathroom after all. But you don't want a bunch of people crowding around the bathroom. If we wanna do something concession and where people gather, let's make a spot for people to gather. But I mean, when we went and saw the building up on the beach, I mean, it was a appropriate space. And people were gathered nearby, but they weren't gathered at the building to sell food and eat food. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's still a bathroom.
Right.
So, yep. But I like this. Yeah, you gotta have the separate bathrooms nowadays. That's just the way to go.
Yeah.
So to add on to your, I appreciate your comment, because there's room here, right, in the concept for the bathroom with, I could see the plaza expanding to the point where you have concessions in a separate space, that the in-between space then, paths connect out to other things in the future. So, yeah.
Matt recalls, a year ago, we did a master plan for the site that included other pickleball courts. And you could argue, incorporated into that expansion, in the future, way out, if we do it, you would end up saying, okay, there should be some changes to this type of facility, so. But it's not there today, we don't have the money for it, so it's not happening.
Right.
But having that in mind,
Right.
how do you shape that ability to put plumbing out the north side? If you had to extend.
Yeah.
That also is a reminder to, we do have 2 bathrooms 300 feet away here.
Mhm.
We do have heated, warm. We do have 2 bathrooms at the hangar, heated, warm. And so I think you probably heard, well, maybe not critically important to have a warm, heated structure right here. But we have to be prudent with the funds that we have.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that came up with staff, because we did talk about that heated versus non-heated piece, and is, and I didn't have the answer for it then, and I really didn't have the chance to talk to our mechanical engineer, but can you design the building if you wanted to add heat later, right? Just, building the shell the proper way so that you can expand and provide those services, and there's enough space in the storage to allow for that. So, yeah, those are all things that, and like I said, that's the fun part about being in the funnel, right? Is taking the time to think about all these things.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Your next meeting.
Pleasure meeting everyone.
Moving on. We've had some discussion about farmland preservation, and then this memo was sent our way. We are in already.
Yes.
We passed that.
We passed the resolution.
So there's really no action on the item. We are, let me just say, I went to one event that was a fundraiser for the farmland preservation. They have it every year at a beautiful farmhouse, a farm building, and a lot of enthusiasm. It's a hard number for Township. Blueberry fields are a difficult item for the farmland preservation team to fund. It's different than a cornfield. It's different than it's just different. And without going into the complexity, I don't know it that well, but there's more challenges in this than meets the eye. So Bill and I have discussed it at length. Bill, you might want to comment. You talked to Becky, the manager, or on that.
Yeah, I talked to Becky to see, where Park fits into their plans and where they're at. And as you just mentioned, with blueberry fields are not as prominent for ag preservation as other types of ag properties. But I wanted to include this tonight to get a better idea from you as to what you think we need going forward. And if that's for you to be receive more info from the county Department of Agriculture, I can set that up. You've got the update from Josh Hoskel, and so we've got that. Becky's got a ton of information. If you're interested in hearing from her, I can have her come to a meeting or a work session and do more with that. I'm trying to get myself more on board with what's been happening and see where we can go from here with the development rights program.
It might be one of the work session education topic for us, but I would suggest it in the 2026 season versus this season. I just don't think that it's the bolded item tempers my enthusiasm. 9 farm families have preserved 733 acres across 6 townships. Now, that's not much farmland. That's not many families. We don't have an application in from anyone from Park Township. And so we haven't even tested the system. So I think we gotta keep on learning. But I think Bill and I have stepped into it. Bill's been reached out to Becky. They've had discussions. I would say early 2026, we dive into it a little bit more. Bill, is that,
Sure.
But I think we keep learning. We keep attending the meetings. We start learning about this in that work discussion. But I think I didn't want hide this from you or from the public. It was on our strategic plan, it was a discussion item, but the more we lean in, Bill and I have leaned in, and Bill, it's even more so with the director of Allen County. This is difficult. This is difficult. And if we were serious about it, it'll cost us money. Okay. All right, managers report, Bill.
You have my report, as I noted, and you met Ann earlier tonight and started a week ago and meeting people. We were out today. We found that it was so sunny out that we just had to go check out the beach. But actually, we were there looking to see if the life rings were in place correctly and making sure that we're up to date with our contract with the Corps of Engineers and discuss that with the fire chief. We also got a tour today of the Coast Guard building, and we've got all kinds of good ideas on what to do when we finally get that building. Hopefully it's going to be soon. Other items that are on my report, the 152nd Street pathway is coming along. They're I think on track to finish by the end of the month. I did talk by phone with Richard Balsano about the Coast Guard building on the last day that he was being paid as a federal employee. And when they come back, we'll be ready. I'm working with SHPO to make sure whatever decisions they make on our appeal, that those are resolved before the federal government reopens so we can move forward. And with luck, we'll have the building by the end of the calendar year. I think you've already all been made aware that the state budget does provide for a $600,000 grant for the township for the purchase of the Coast Guard building. So that sure helps as far as moving that project forward. At the same time, we are going to receive about $100,000 less in operating fees from the state for revenue sharing. But we'll make that work in our budget.
I will, on that note,
Sure.
I was probably represented board and our Senator Victory for really shepherding that $600,000 grant through the budgeting system. So I want to publicly thank them for the significant grant. So thank you, Representative Board and Senator Victory.
She proposed it and got it going in the House side, and then I talked with Roger Victory's office after the House had approved that to make sure that he knew what was coming and that he did what he could to keep it in there. I talked to the office today, and they were very sad, if you will, that we're losing some of our revenue sharing, but those things do happen, and some of that happened so they didn't have to avoid a shutdown at the state level. Any questions you have for me, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you. I should note that I'm finally figuring out how the speed signs all work, and I'll have something in my weekly report tomorrow for you. Oh, I should also, if I may, mention that we've got our speed trailer out on Ottawa Beach Road, and we also have it on it's not Greenview.
Greenlee?
Thank you.
In Wakasu Woods.
In Wakasu Woods, yeah, to work with some of the residents that are having issues with speeders. So we'll have a report once we collect data from those two for a week or so. And we are following that up with active enforcement. So there will be police officers. I don't know if we've got any billboards that they'll be behind, but just be extra careful on Ottawa Beach and on Greenwood.
You're warned. I mean,
Absolutely.
Any questions for our manager?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is the time for public comment. It's gonna look across the whole crowd there. Anybody want to come to the podium and comment on anything that's said or comes to mind? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. That might be one of our shortest ones. All right, so moving on to the next thing. Thank you. Board committee report. Let's start on the left side.
Ottawa County Fair Board, there's really not much to report there other than they're jumping on with the winter storage. It's that time of year, so stuff's gonna be coming in the next few weeks. And then for the ZBA, we did not have a meeting last week because we had no agenda items, so.
Max Transit, we've had a couple meetings this month. One of them was tabled because they presented a budget that had a deficit of $1 million. We sent them back. I'm not a voting member. The board members sent the director back, gave him a week and said, okay, you need to cut some stuff here. There's no way, they can approve a budget, over $1 million in the whole. So they did that. There are some services that are going to be cut. They are going to be coming in May for a millage, I believe, from 0.4 to 0.6. That was voted on prior to this budget issue. But I think they're working their way out of it smartly. It may take 2 years or so to work the way out, but they are, looking at different services to cut. I don't think it'll affect Park Township at all. Bill and I were supposed to meet with the director of Max. During that week, he had to redo his budget. He forgot about our meeting. So we'll be meeting with him when he contacts us. The other thing, we made it through tax time. Miracles do happen. Staff was great. My mind was blown. But we did it as a team. I think you can be proud of the staff that you have here.
Okay, I only have one thing, at the West Michigan Regional Airport. We have completed or near completion the north. And so we'll be having a ribbon cutting on Friday, October the 24th from 10 to 12. Anybody's interested?
Planning Commission. Planning Commission had 2 agenda items. First, we approved the Point West 1 major amendment to the existing PUD that entails a 1 large 3-acre portion of property that was owned by an individual, and they are now dividing up the property lines and just extending to everybody's backyard, so they will all get a piece of this what was once community open space. It'll now go to each individual property owner that borders the entire perimeter of it. Went and had a lot of dialogue with regard to protected dunes and of course trees and who maintains and what happens going forward. But everything was resolved and Planning Commission approved. And then the other agenda item was the Trillium Grove site condominium discussion that went quite lengthy that evening. And that was what was before us this evening. That's it.
I just want to say thank you to my colleagues for, I have been very privileged to be your representative at a couple events. I can't recall an event like the Veterans of the Park dedication. So I'm just going to speak my comments into the public end. So this is recorded because I was so moved by what happened that day. I just feel it has to be said to our public. So on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to express our appreciation to the local VFW for the opportunity to host this beautiful plaza. Congratulations on giving our greater Elm community a place to remind, reflect, and honor those who have served us so unselfishly for the freedoms we too often take for granted. The irony of this location on this memorial should be acknowledged. The road next to us, Ottawa Beach Road, is the busiest road in our township. Thousands of vehicles pass by this town. The residents and visitors on their way to homes, work, boats, or the beach. I hope each time they pass, they remember to give the freedom they've been given. The park the plaza is grounded on is the former airport that trained pilots for World War II. Park Township the Park Township Airport has played a significant role protecting the freedom we enjoy. The developing park landscape surrounding the plaza will provide respite of those who stop and remember the sacrifice given. May the many acres of wildflowers offer solitude and recovery. And the angle of the T-33 shooting star trainer plane should remind us to look up from whom our help comes. And we offer this plaza as a gift to him. I just want to say publicly to all our servicemen and women, thank you for your service. So I just want to enter this into the public meeting minutes and just say it was an incredible honor for me to represent you. And years ago, 4 years ago, when they approached us, I don't think we understood how important this concept was going to be. And I tell you, this is going to be a significant marker that I can say, you know, we should be proud to host this particular plaza forever. And just hope you have a chance to enjoy it and encourage other folks to enjoy it. Their plan is to put stories up. So, but when you see a 98, 97-year-old man walk under his own power to hold the flag that was going to be raised from his armed service division, it's hard not to break down tears. And so I just want to say thank you to all of us here to say, okay, we made a decision as a board to host this. But again, it's I think it's going to be one of the most significant decisions these boards has made in many years. So I just enter that in public record and say thank you to our community for accepting this gift. So also, this final thing I just sent you or put on your dais. It's not an approved agenda. This is the CD program. It's a community enhancement program. These are it just happened yesterday morning. So we had multiple requests, and it's so exciting. It went as far as a Macatao Resource Center, a new roof, to Valley kids buying bikes for downtown Ice Springs, to the Salvation Army is expanding a sidewalk for the homeless. They're moving the homeless shelter or homeless foods to this Salvation Army. I was just going to say that program is making a significant impact on many organizations. So I just thank the board for their commitment on the budget to support that stuff. It's one of the most likely to come on. Thank you. Go down, big motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, see you on the 30th for the work session to work on the manager process.